All right, so we're going to use our skill of factoring now to solve quadratic equations. So this is all based off the idea that it's easier. The first method, by the way, is when we have a trinomial. The whole idea here is it's easier to solve an equation for x if I turn it into two things multiplied together. So I've got one thing here times another thing here, because this is multiplication here. If two things times each other equals 0, then the solution is going to be when one of them equals 0 or when the other one equals 0. If either one is 0, that's going to make the product 0, because 0 times anything is 0. And that's how we get our two answers. It's much easier to come up with those two answers when I have things times each other equaling 0, as opposed to in this form equaling 0. These are not two things multiplied together. It's things added together. So our goal is to be able to write this in factored form. That means things multiplied together. So if you recall from our factoring, I'm going to transform this side of the equation into factored form. So I've got x and x. Now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 32. So one of them has to be positive and one of them has to be negative, and are going to add to the middle, which is 4. So I start thinking of the numbers that multiply to negative 32. I've got 1 and negative 32. I've got negative 1 and 32. I've got 2 and negative 16. I've got negative 2 and positive 16. I've got 4 and negative 8. I've got negative 4 and 8. So if I start looking through those options, which ones I add together to give me the middle 4? And it's got to be a positive 4. So it looks like this one's the winner. So it's going to be x plus 8 and x minus 4. Now once I have it written in this form, right, again, I just look at, now they're both multiplied together, what x makes this part 0? When x equals negative 8, that's a solution. Or what x makes this part 0? X equals 4, that's a solution. So that's how you solve quadratics when it's a trinomial. You have to know how to factor. I did a little review over here of how you come up with the factoring of the trinomial method. Let's do another one. You can take a second, pause the video here, and try to solve it. So pause the video now and try. Okay, welcome back. So let's see if you did okay here. We want to write this in factored form equaling 0. So it's going to be x and x. Now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 99 but add to negative 2. So I know that's negative 11 and positive 9, because negative 11 and 9 add to negative 2, and of course they multiply to negative 99. So now what x makes the first factor 0? 11, so that's one solution. What x makes the other factor 0? That's negative 9. That's our other solution. So remember, we may have as many as two solutions. That's how we solve when it's a trinomial equaling 0. We're going to factor it, then find what x value makes each factor 0. What you can do also to prove that they're answers is if I go back to the original, I can also show that it works. It makes the equation true. So okay, so I can plug my solutions back in. Like, let's just check 4. If I plug 4 back in here, I get 16 plus 16 minus 32 equals 0. And that's true because 16 plus 16 is 32, and then 32 minus 32 is 0. So that's why 4 is a solution. You can try plugging in negative 8 into x, into the original equation, not the factored form. And you can see that it works. Okay? So that's how you do it using this method.